we're finally in the BYD Atto 2. Now this car has a WLTP range of 312 kilometers. That is on the 45 kilowatt hour battery. But it has a city WLTP range of over 460 kilometers. Now those two numbers are quite far apart. So what I want to find out today in this real world driving test, I am carrying out my range test here, is what is the actual real world range here in hot and sunny Malta. Welcome to this driving review of the BYD Atto 2. Alright, so the BYD Atto 2 here in Malta with 2025 government incentives starts at a price of 20,900 euros. That's for the entry active trim. If you upgrade for 1,500 euros, you get the Boost, which is the one I have here. Few noticeable changes, although you won't see much changes in the exterior. You do get the addition of front parking sensors, electronic mirrors and a 360 camera, courtesy to a number of smaller cameras surrounding the vehicle. In terms of colors, this grey is the base and default color. This chicken seems to like the grey quite a bit. Other options though are the black, the white, which also has a touch of light blue, and the light green. Both active and Boost get the same 17-inch alloy wheels. So the Atto 2, it is a compact SUV, as you can probably imply from the name, slightly smaller than its bigger brother, the Atto 3, which was the first car we've seen from BYD to reach European shores more than a year ago. Now, in terms of dimensions, we're looking at 4.3 meters in length, 2 meters wide, so keeps the width, and then 1.6 in height, enabling quite a good amount of headroom. Now you do sit quite high up in a very good driving position, so you don't lose that SUV feeling. And I have great visibility of the front corners of the car, so I'm able to very well judge where the car sort of cuts off in the front. In terms of driving, it is a very smooth and comfortable ride. They've tuned the suspension to be nice and soft and comfortable, right? It takes on the bumps and handles them, frankly, with ease. The steering wheel, again, nice and soft. It is intended for city driving. Again, remembering the rather small battery pack it comes with, right? 45 kilowatt hour. So, what else? Yes, of course, design language. So of course, this is designed by Wolfgang Egger, who we've spoken about extensively on the channel. He is the lead designer now at BYD. His history, of course, coming from brands like Audi and Lamborghini, but now he's designing cars for the Chinese BYD. Now, of course, if we scroll back the clock just 3 years, nearly nobody, or I'd say very little, knew about BYD, Build Your Dreams, right? But they've left much more than a dent, I would say, in the automotive industry here in Europe, and particularly here in Malta. Just last month, this newcomer to the automotive sector was the best selling brand here in Malta. This means when you cumulatively add up the sales of all the models, which, let's be fair, is around 7 or 8 different cars that BYD sell, they were the top selling car brand for last month. That is quite an impressive statistic, starting from 0 to being the best seller in this region. So why and how are they able to do this? Well, BYD are all about offering the best cost versus quality that is possible, and they do this not just in the way they build the cars themselves, but in everything that has to do with getting the cars here. For example, I've already spoken about this in a previous video, but BYD have invested in their own fleet, not just one ship, in their own fleet of ships, which by 2026 will be enough to export 1 million vehicles every single year out of China. And this isn't some, entry-level grade ship carrying a bunch of cars, right? These are literally the biggest type of ships that exist in the world. Each of these ships is capable of carrying something like 10,000 cars. So this is one of the many ways of how BYD are able to bring this vehicles like the Atto 2 at such a competitive price point. Now, in terms of regen and driving modes, let's start with the regen here. So regen is toggled from a physical switch in the center console over here. Now there's two modes, your standard or your high mode. And I've said this before on the channel, right? And I'll say it again. BYD here do not give the same level of options for regen as the competing brands. And even in its highest form, the regen is actually quite subtle. Although I must say, in this Atto 2, I think they've listened to some of my reviews in the past, because they have made it a bit stronger than I'm used to seeing in the other BYD vehicles. So you do get that feeling as soon as you lift off the accelerator of the car decelerating. Is that enough to drive this car on one pedal? Maybe not. Definitely not the same level as other brands. But I am noticing, as I said, an improvement, that their high mode is actually doing something which in previous driving experience with BYD cars I did not feel. Moving on to the driving modes, again toggled from a physical switch. We've got the usual eco mode, normal mode, sport mode and the snow mode. Now, I've been driving the car for this range test in the normal mode, as I do with all the cars on the channel, right? But if you want to unleash the full dose of power, that 170 horsepower electric motor, then you want to put the car in sport mode. And yes, right away, you do start to feel that there is more power under your foot. Having said that, at no point in my drive here today did I feel like, for example, going up a steep hill, right, that there is a lack of power from the vehicle. Actually, on the contrary, even in its normal mode setting. This is something you have to experience yourself, particularly if you've never driven an electric car and you're coming from internal combustion. Remember, there are no gears for the car to shift through. It is one gear which gives all the power you need, and it keeps going and going, and seamlessly it keeps going as well, more than you'd ever expect it to. Right, let me walk you through this interior cabin. So first thing, this is not part of the Ocean series, so it's a completely different design language than most of the other electric vehicles from BYD that we've seen on the channel. It is though starkly different, in my opinion, in a good way, to the BYD Atto 3, this car's bigger brother. I much prefer this design language to the more quirkiness of the Atto 3. I feel this is a bit more European in its taste, a bit more minimalistic, but still utilizing very nice materials nonetheless, always though keeping into perspective the price point of this car. Steering wheel is my preferred one from BYD. I much prefer this one. We saw it in the C-Line 7, okay, or a similar version to it. It's not the one with the plastic black design, which I am not really a fan of. Of course, physical buttons on the steering wheel for volume controls and the driver assistance features. Above me, worth noting, is the electronic sunroof, which is included even in the active or the base layer version of this car. I can close it at the touch of a button, and it is the tinted glass, which I like a lot for the sake of the heat that comes down from the ceiling, especially here in Malta. Seats are the Eco leather seats from BYD. Have a great feeling to them, nice and comfortable, nice and sturdy. Screen, of course, is the center attraction. You get 10 inches in the active or 12-inch screen in this boost level trim. It is, of course, the 360 spinning design we've become used to here in the BYD system, which can spin from there and possibly even from the steering wheel. Interface, very responsive. I have made some notes about the software of BYD. I have noticeably seen a change since we saw the Atto 3 a few years back now here in Malta, that it has gotten, I believe, a lot better and definitely moving in the right direction. Seeing it right here, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, both wireless and both again included as standard in that base level variant. What's not standard, you'll need the boost variant for this, is the wireless phone charger found over here. And what I always love about these BYD cars is that the second you put your phone down, it starts charging. I don't have the same experience with the other manufacturers. Sometimes you put your phone down and you do the little wiggle jiggle with the phone till it starts charging. Not with the BYD cars. You put the phone down and it's going. Down here we have the driving selector, park, reverse, drive and neutral, very nice to use, and some physical buttons to control the driving mode and the regen switch. Regen switch, of course, I've discussed in an earlier part of the review. Cup holders, big enough to store your Futures Electric water bottle over here, and some ample storage space down here as well. Maverick there doing his best with the camera to get us a nice glance. This is a safety kit, so you can break the glass or tear the seatbelt if you're in an accident. So quite nice to see as well. Build quality, I have to be honest, is pretty good. You know, when you see a car which comes in at a price of 20,000 euros thanks to incentives, you're like, this is gonna feel cheap, but this does not feel cheap at all. So I am a big fan of this design. Heated steering wheel, heated front seats included in the boost variant, as I mentioned here. But you know what's left? Let's check out the back. All right, let's check out the back. I mean, look at the space back here. I am 1.83 m. That seat is in my driving position. And check out the leg room here. I mean, this is a comfortable place to be. Possibly one of the better back seat spaces we've seen on the channel. Of course, courtesy of the fact that this car is built on that E-Platform 3.0, which I've spoken extensively in my tech focus review, being linked down below. So seats nice and comfortable. It's a great place to be, especially with this glass roof which keeps extending all the way. There's a little leaf which has fallen here, creating some nice I don't know. Okay, so back here, no AC vents, bit of a bummer. You do get a USB and a USB-C port and some storage over there. The windows are electronic, and there is a speaker system. This is of course in the boost level trim, that's the higher one up. You go from 6 to 8 speakers, which is of course an improvement. Still lacking a bit of bass for my taste, so I think they can improve a little back there. But all in all, this is a pretty good back seat. I mean, the space here is fantastic. Would definitely be comfortable even on longer journeys. But let's see if they've compromised the boot space by giving us so much back seat room. Let's check it out. So in the back we get 400 liters of space. It is not a power tailgate, okay, and you want to be careful because it doesn't lift as far as you'd hope it to lift. I mean, my head here at 1.83 m, barely scraping by, although it does provide good cover if it's raining. So some cars, you open the boot and you're getting stuff out of the back and just getting drenched. I feel here will be safe, okay? So this is the space. Flat floor as you're going in, although you can lift and take off this floor section here to reveal a bigger storage area where we've got the charging cable stored down here, both of them included with the car. There's also some side compartments there where you can store some other belongings. So quite a decent boot space, especially considering how generous they've been with the space for the rear passengers. Now, of course, as a buyer, you may be a bit hesitant to invest in a new car from, let's be honest, still a relatively new car brand, particularly for the European market. But this is where BYD's warranties really start to ease your nerves. So they're offering 12-year warranty on the body, 6-year general warranty, and more importantly, 8-year warranty on the electric motor, which is that unique BYD designed 8-in-1 motor, and 8 years on the high voltage battery, the most expensive component in this vehicle. It's 8 years or 200,000 kilometers, which again is slightly above what the rest of the industry is offering. So if you needed any more reassurances than these very long warranties, which compete very favorably, particularly with legacy auto, then I don't know what other convincing you need. Now, in terms of safety, this e-platform 3.0 from BYD was designed and built with safety in mind, and it definitely has all the tech required to score your points for safety. Now, at the time of recording, this vehicle has not been tested by Euro NCAP, although we're expecting that test very soon. Nonetheless, in my test here today, the intelligent safety features have behaved very well. So for example, the lane keep assist has worked very well. So there is that vibration on the steering wheel the second the vehicle starts to feel that I am leaving the lane, right? And also the camera facing the driver right here, which you wouldn't know is a camera, keeping an eye on whether I am keeping my eyes on the road, is also working very well. What I found with that system, now this is relatively new and it's going to be in every car being sold because it is a requirement to get that 5-star rating, is that the car will audibly warn you when it feels you are not looking at the road as much as you should be. And what I found, that I think BYD have achieved the right balance here in terms of when the car warning essentially comes on, which is an audible and visual warning in the gauge cluster here. I have seen some other brands where the second you spend more than a second looking at the center screen, the warnings start going off. Here they've dialed it down, I think, to the right level. Besides that, of course, we have in this case the 360 cameras, also keeping an eye on safety and rear cross traffic, which will automatically brake the car even when you're going in reverse, and of course when you're going forward as well to avoid a collision. Now, another note I want to add on safety has to do with the Blade BYD battery. Now, of course, I've talked about this extensively in my tech focus review of this vehicle. If you haven't seen it, it will be linked down below. But what's important to note about this battery is this is undoubtedly the safest battery in the industry when it comes to EV batteries, because it is one of the few, if not the only battery, which survives what is known as the nail penetration test. This is when they take a fully charged battery and drive literally a nail right through it, and this results in no thermal event, which is different to what would happen in other batteries, which generally end in a bit of fireworks, so to speak. So while there are other statistics where the BYD Blade battery does not win, so for example weight is definitely not one of them. This is a considerably heavier battery when compared to the competition, but when it comes to safety, undoubtedly it is definitely a winner. Alright, so I've just completed my real-world driving range test, and I'm about to reveal what the driving range is in a Malta-like, city-like driving environment here, tested in the real world after 50 kilometers of driving. Before I do that, a bit about the methodology. So car driven in normal mode, so I'm not even pushing it to its economic limits by driving in eco mode. So normal mode, as I test all the other vehicles, air conditioning turned on. That's very important, right? We want to be realistic here, and a realistic driver is going to have that air conditioning running, particularly on a hot day like today. So set 22 degrees, medium fan. And after 50 kilometers, I have achieved, believe it or not, an efficiency of 10 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers in a compact SUV, which would imply a real-world driving range on this battery of 450 kilometers. So yes, we are very close to the claimed figure of 460 kilometers, ever so shy, and we're not even running in eco mode. I mean, I am impressed. It's called a compact SUV, but in my book, this is a big car, right? 4.3 meters long. This isn't some compact two-seater or some BYD Dolphin Surf, right? This is a legit big car with a reasonably sized boot, lots of space in the back, and we're achieving 10 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. My imaginary hat is definitely off to the BYD engineers who managed to figure this out. And there we are, my driving video of the BYD Atto 2. My book, definitely a noticeable improvement from the Atto 3, which again was the first BYD vehicle we tested out on the channel more than, I'd say, a year and a half ago, nearly 2 years possibly at this point. I mean, beauty is arbitrary, right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But I think this interior cabin space is definitely a lot better and an upgrade over the Atto 3, where I felt the design language used was kind of quirky and kind of out there. I think this sort of appeals more to the person who doesn't want to have these design features which stand out. I mean, on the outside, the car is no Sea Lion, right? Or Sea Lion 7, excuse me, in terms of design. But again, I think it's nice for what it aims to be and the consumer it is going after. Perhaps the biggest headline though has to be the price, right? 20,900 euros including government grants is making the choice to buy an electric vehicle here in Malta an absolute no-brainer. Guys, as always, big thanks to Gazanza Meet and BYD Malta for their support and for giving me this car here for review. And you, the viewer at home, if you enjoyed it, and I appreciate your support back by hitting the like button and the subscribe button, because we've got more content like this coming your way. But as always, I hope I've convinced you that the future is electric.